everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Political Sense. Basically, a show where we try to make sense out of this crazy political climate that we're now having to face with. A lot of things have been going on, so I thought it would be appropriate, if you will, for me to try to explain some of the things that have been going on and some of the things that are actually happening that a lot of people don't really understand. So even if you want to go back to, let's just say we go back to Trump's first impeachment. So let's actually talk about this. Trump, the House of Representatives have finally came to the resolution that they are going to impeach President Donald Trump. Now, what impeachment means, impeachment does not necessarily mean that he's going to get kicked out of office. Impeachment means that they are going to bring him up on charges. They want to charge Donald Trump with what is it called? Incitement of an insurrection or a violent uprising. So we all seen what happened on January 6th, 2021. Was last week or the week before last? I think it was last week, where they basically Trump supporters stormed the Capitol building as Congress was in session to count the electoral ballots. But before we get into that, let's start kind of from the beginning. Let's just go back a little bit in time, right? So. Donald Trump's election was in itself kind of a rocky situation. Mind you, Donald Trump has not won the popular vote in any of his campaigns. Donald Trump will forever be remembered as the president who lost both popular votes. He only served one term, and he's now been impeached twice. He is the first president in the history of this country to be impeached twice. Okay, so if we're counting everything that Trump has done from the time he got elected until his very first impeachment, we can say things like he was raising the federal debt. What's the other thing I wrote down? He had promised to raise the wages for average workers. Didn't do that by like $4,000 a year. He did not keep up on that. He gave extreme tax cuts to big corporations. The wealthy the rich got richer and the poor got poor. And not to mention the drone strikes against, was it Iran? The drone strikes against Iran that killed somebody of importance in Iran, and now they have a bounty on his head. Now, that's not really talked about too much because a lot of people are trying to blow it off as a conspiracy. It's not true. I've seen videos. I honestly believe that the Iranian government or the Iraqi government has actually placed a bounty on Donald Trump's head. Now, I think that's a little extreme. But Donald Trump in himself is an extreme person. So Donald Trump has made a lot of mistakes, not to mention the things that comes out of his mouth. I don't really believe Donald Trump, as the president of the United States, grasps the actual fact that your words carry so much weight. When you're the president of the United States, everything you say is pretty much taken literal. Remember now, when the coronavirus pandemic was fresh, was brand new, and people were really, really scared. Donald Trump has a news conference, and he jokingly says, "Well, maybe we should start injecting people with cleaner. Maybe we should start having people drink bleach." And he was being sarcastic. But at that moment in American history, when everyone felt like their lives were about to be over. We felt like we were in a doggone apocalypse. He decides to be sarcastic. Yeah. So, all that being said, Donald Trump has really messed up in his 4 years. His supporters support him with everything that they have. That's the kind of loyalty I want. I want that kind of loyalty to where no matter how much I mess up, no matter what I do, no matter how much I hurt you, you still got my back. You still support me to your last breath. That's the kind of support that I want, because Donald Trump has that. You feel me? So, moving along, we're going to Donald Trump's first impeachment. I think it was I think it was like December 2019 when they actually introduced articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. It was obstruction of justice, and it was abuse of power. Now, abuse of power kind of pretty much explains itself. It's basically I wrote everything down, as y'all can see. I got everything, so I wouldn't miss anything. Abuse of power is the unlawful conduct, as it's called, or as known by another name. Abuse of power or unlawful misconduct is the commission of an unlawful act done in an official capacity. He was also charged with obstruction of justice, which is the act of obstructing the work of the U.S. Congress or one of its committees. Now, on President Donald Trump's first impeachment, he was using his power to try to get the Ukrainian government to release information about Hunter Biden, which is President-elect Joe Biden's son, that is now, I believe, deceased. So Trump was trying to use his powers to get information. Him and his lawyer Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani is a trip by himself. Now, it passed the House of Representatives. It did not pass Senate. At the time of the first impeachment, the Senate was majority Republican. Most of Congress was Republican, so we really didn't expect it to go too far. Now, he passes his first impeachment. He still gets to be in office. A lot of us expected it, but we still were kind of like, dang, that sucks. Now, go to January 6, 2021. By this time in history, we have had months of fake claims of voter fraud. We've had months of Trump saying that he lost, that the election was stolen from him, that he won by a lot. We won New York bigly, is what he said. Let me just be clear. There is no evidence of voter fraud. And I say that I go on Fox News and I just let them have it on there because the Trump supporters believe his word tooth and nail. There is no evidence of voter fraud. If there was factual evidence of voter fraud when they brought it to each and every judge, or when the case was brought up, it would have gained some ground. Every judge, including judges that Trump has appointed himself, every judge has tossed the case out. What does that tell you? That tells you that the evidence that they presented in court was no good. Why else then would a Republican judge who probably has interest in Trump remaining in office, or Trump has put that person in office, why then would that Republican judge toss the case out? Recounts have been done in Georgia and in Wisconsin and in Pennsylvania. They've been recounted. They're trying to say that there was no people there to observe the votes and make sure they were voted. There was observers for each party. Each party had an observer watching the poll workers count these votes. Okay, everything was followed to the letter. Everything was followed. The issue is that Donald Trump had a hard time accepting defeat. His ego got in the way, and he got into his supporters' heads, and he made them believe with everything they had that the election was stolen from him. Okay, now in the course of these months, he's talking this big game. He's trying to make it seem like he's done so much for the country, and that if he is not in office, or if he doesn't remain in office for another 4 years, the country is going to fall. He basically is treating this situation like a dictatorship. Now, if we go back to the rise of Hitler, if we want to do that, what Hitler did is Hitler got into the heads of his supporters by spreading false information. And then when the news media started to call out Hitler's false information, Hitler used his supporters to go after the media. Now, when you go after the media and discredit the media, then the people in the middle, so not necessarily on his side, but not necessarily, on the other side either, the people in the middle don't know what's factual and don't know what's real. So now the people in the middle are just going with whatever sounds legit. Okay? So now you have the rise of Hitler that basically Trump was going down this same path that Hitler was going down. If we want to be quite honest. Now, I'm not saying that Trump is Hitler. I'm not saying that Trump would have done anything remotely close to what Hitler had did. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's very, very dangerous to get people so riled up around false information that they begin to get unruly. We saw the signs of Trump's supporters of their aggressiveness at his rallies. We knew how aggressive they were at his rally. That should have been, Trump should have, no. Let's not even say that. Trump really fed off that energy. And I believe that he really thought he lost the election. He really believed that he lost, that he won, and that it was stolen from him, that he did not lose. So, after all the months of lies, all the months of trying to discredit the media, trying to make it seem like people are colluding together, states are colluding together to get him to lose. After all of that is said and done, January 6th comes along. Now, this is a day when the U.S. Congress meets to count the electoral ballots. Now, mind you, these electoral votes have been recounted. They've been fought. They've been fought in court. The Trump administration has done every legal thing, tried every legal loophole to discredit these electoral college votes. Now, January 6th, Congress meets to count these electoral college votes, and Trump is holding a rally right outside the White House. At this rally, Donald J. Trump decides that he wants to just go all out for it. He makes it seem like if you don't fight for this country, that then you won't have a country. He was using very, very dangerous words, like you have to fight hard. You can't. You have to. You have to be strong. You can't win back a country if you're weak. He was telling them, we're gonna march to the Capitol and we're gonna take this country back. We have to fight like. Well, I'm not gonna repeat what he said, but he was basically getting them riled up. Now this is a crowd who already came to D.C. on 10. They already came ready for a fight, and Donald Trump, the sitting president, adds fuel to the fire and basically tells them, in more or less words, he basically says, march to the White House and fight for your country. They stole the election from us. They're gonna ruin this country. You won't have a country to live in. Biden is going to tear down everything. He's gonna make everything so much worse. And these supporters took him word for word. Went to the U.S. Capitol, broke in the building, and basically caused mayhem inside the building. And contrary to what people are saying, you cannot compare this to the Black Lives Matter movement. And I will tell you why. The Black Lives Matter movement came after years and years of just marching in the streets. That's all we did. There have been protests for years about racial tensions, about police brutality, about things that have been happening, particularly to the black community, that seems to go unnoticed. So us marching in the streets, y'all haven't listened to us since this doggone civil rights movement. So when we march in the streets and try to do it nicely, we're ignored most of the time. But then you can get, but then when we start to make some noise, and then when we start to do certain things, the Black Lives Matter movement was protesting for a reason, and it was a peaceful protest. Now you have people who infiltrated the Black Lives Matter movement and tried to discredit what we were doing by causing mayhem. I do not believe, with everything in me, I do not believe that the Black Lives Matter movement was responsible for buildings burning. I do not believe that the Black Lives Matter was responsible for anybody getting hurt. But I do believe that the Black Lives Matter movement was aggressive in their peaceful protest, if that makes sense. They were aggressive in their peaceful protest because we needed our voice to be louder. We needed our voice to be stronger because we needed them to really understand what we were doing. Now, the Trump supporters are different in the fact that they stormed a federal building because their candidate lost. That is the difference. So now here we are, January 13th, 2021. What a great start off to the year. January 13th, 2021, President Donald Trump has been impeached for a second time. Now, a lot of people have been saying, why are they doing this now? He's just going to be out of office in a few weeks. The real purpose of this impeachment, which I kind of understand, and then I'm kind of like, it sounds like a political stunt to me too. But the purpose of this impeachment is, one, to send a message to any other president that may try to pull the same stunts that Donald Trump did, to let them know that it's not okay. We won't tolerate it. We will impeach you as many times as we need to for you to either get out or get the message. The other reason I believe they're doing this is because they don't want Donald Trump to run again. If you are convicted in an impeachment case, or if you are convicted of your crimes, that bars you from running for any government office ever. So I believe they're trying to go ahead and stop him from trying to run again in 2024, because there have been rumors that Donald Trump is planning to run again in 2024. So we're hoping that, well, let's just say this. Either way, it's a mess. Here's what needs to happen, in my view. I feel that, one, the Republican Party messed up by allowing Donald Trump to represent them in the first election, 2016. 2016, the Republican Party messed up by making Donald Trump their candidate. The second issue, I believe, is that the Republican Party has a hard time with calling Trump out on his crap. They refuse to admit that Trump is an awful president. Now, Trump has done some okay stuff. As a president, overall, though, no. Trump himself needs to do some soul searching and admit when he fails, admits when he makes mistakes. I think that's another issue, is that he has a hard time admitting when he's wrong. So we have an egotistical, pretty much maniac in the White House that has access to the missile codes and all that. That's a problem. Who has so much influence. It's a problem. At this point, I don't know necessarily if I would have introduced articles of impeachment this late in the game, but I do understand why they did it. I will say it's a 50-50 chance whether he will be kicked out for the last, a week or so, maybe a few days, making Mike Pence the president for like maybe 3 days. I don't know. The House of Representatives passed it. It has to go to the Senate now. The Senate is expected to meet, I believe, on January 19th, right before the inauguration of Joe Biden, which pray for Joe Biden, because the presidential inauguration, I believe, in my opinion, is going to be a madhouse, because his supporters are not going anywhere. If you thought Donald Trump supporters were going somewhere, they're not. So, with that being said, where was I at? With that being said, I will say, when the Senate convenes on the 19th, and they go over this, there will be more Democrats. I believe the Democrats are going to control the Senate. I believe the Democrats are going to control the Senate. But is it going to be enough to actually impeach Donald Trump? I have no idea, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to find out on the next episode of Political Sense. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Shout out to Anchor for allowing me to do this podcast on their platform. Shout out to Facebook. Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to Dev Media. New shows, new timelines coming out. So new timelines, new shows on our lineup. It's late. We got a lot of new stuff happening. So thank you, Anchor. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Dev Media, for this opportunity. Love you.